Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. So now I want to talk about combining faster methods with precision sharpening, because a lot of guys like to do this, and there's several ways to do this. I have done it with Tormex, I have done it with Wicked Edges, and I'm going to show you here with a TS Prof where doing this type of combination could be very useful to you. So I have a person that dropped off 3 Shuns, and I just want to show you this particular Shun. See all these big chips in here? Now, if you're not pressed for time, and if you want to put the time in, you could absolutely, without question, do this Shun on your TS Prof. You could use the triple coated diamonds. You could get your 100 grit alpha stone out and go at it and take these chips out. But I will tell you for sure, it is time consuming. It really is. So if you have a knife sharpening business, but you still love the absolute precision results you get using your TS Prof, here's a way to speed that up. Okay, so I have these fairly chipped up Shuns that have clearly not been sharpened in quite a few years. I actually have 3 of them, and I want to do them, but let's say I don't want to do them entirely on a 1x30. Let's say I want to put a very precision edge on them with a TS Prof. I'm going to show you a way to speed that up. Now, if you only have 1x30, totally fine. Doesn't matter which one you have. Don't care if you have a Harbor Freight. Don't care if you have a Toolker. Whatever it is, one will do the job. That's all you need to do. I like to grab a angle setting wedge. So this is a 15-degree angle setting wedge. So I'm just going to set my platen here for 15 degrees. So I put that wedge in there. I tighten my top nut on my knurled nut there. I tighten my handle, and then my wedge just fell out, but that's all I have to do. I grab my 120-bit Crubatron belt. Now, the other reason this is good to do this way, not on a slack belt, but on a platen, is because it's going to give you a more flat grind. And remember, our TS Prof gives us a very flat grind because of the stones. So I would not recommend this so much with, I know a lot of you guys have Ken onions, and Ken onions are nice, but I don't love them for kitchen knives because I like more of a flat grind. Eventually you start building up that center, curvature of that belly of that knife, and then you have to remove that to be able to sharpen a knife, and it can even get in the way of honing knives for chefs, and chefs tend to sharpen stuff and hone regularly. So I have my 15-degree angle. I just come over to my 1x30, and all I'm going to do is the reprofiling part. All I'm doing here is the reprofiling of this knife, and I'm and you'll see those chips are still plenty there. So you can imagine if I was hand sharpening, it'd be a lot more time. The other thing I'll do sometimes is just take more of an angle. So even though I'm set for 15 here for the angle I want it to be at the end, I got to get all these chips out. So to save time, I'm just going to raise my angle here a bit and start taking those chips out. So now I'm flat against my platen because I got most of the chips out, and I'm wanting to just thin it down again. I am noticing I got one very, very deep chip here in the middle and at the tip. So we're going to have to keep going on this one for a bit on the reprofile here to get those out. And if you did this by hand sharpening, you're going to be there sometime. So be prepared. It's going to take a lot of time. Now, if it's just your kitchen knives and that's all you're doing, probably don't care about the time so much. But if it's a business, time is money. And we got to get through getting these chips out and getting this reprofile proper so we can sharpen this knife as quickly as possible. And I'm liking everything I'm seeing here now, except for my tip. So I'm going to do a little extra tip work here, because there was a big chip here in the tip. And I want to be sure that's fully out. Because there's nothing worse than getting a knife completely done and then finding that you missed a chip. Alright, so now I'm going to do just some finishing strokes of about 3 on each side here. And I think I'm done with the reprofile. I'm going to show you. You'll see all those chips are gone now. Let me zoom you in there. So see, we got nice reprofile. And if I had to do that by hand sharpening, it would be a considerable amount of time. Considerable. Trust me, I've done it. It takes a long time. So now I can go over to my TS Prof and go with my 15-degree angle, set this, and get to finishing off this knife. And the nice thing is, with this, I'm getting a very precision edge. Now I'm just making sure everything's tight. Now I'm going to go with this 600 grit and see how that does. And now I'm going to set my angle, hitting my angle cube. And we are currently reading at around 18, so we need to come down. And we want to match that 15-degree angle we just did. And there's 15. So now I'm locking in. Tiny drop of oil on my alpha stone, and I'm going to get started sharpening. Now, I don't need to worry about apexing the knife. It should have been apexed on my 1x30 because we clearly have removed enough. So I am going to keep track of my strokes here, and I am going to still check that, see that I am feeling that burr being pushed back and forth to both sides. I'm seeing a little high grind mark here on the end of this knife, so I'm going to do a little bit of scrubbing down here. I just want to get that kind of evened out there. Quick flip. And now I should feel there should be a fairly significant burr that's on this other side. Yeah, and there is, and I can feel it, you know, and that's our 120 Cubitron. And now I'm going to, same thing on this side, start going here to tip, and I can feel that burr, you know, just going. Okay, still want to do a little work on this end here, and I'm going to do a little tip work. Seeing a little thickness up here in the tip that I want to kind of even out, and trying to get that finish just nicely evened out and mirrored. Yeah, and that feels good. And that feels nice and sharp. Yeah, whew, feels real sharp. And remember, this is 600 grit. Yeah, and that feels good. You can see everything that came off there. And now, I'm going to park that. I'm just going to grab another stone. I need to clean that one. And here is 1500, which should be a really nice, good finish for this Shun chef's knife. All right, here we go. Counting my strokes. That's 30. Flipping. Let's do 30 more strokes, heel to tip. That's 30. And that feels real good. I am going to take it out. Be helpful if I had my correct Allen key. All right, so I'm going to take it out, and now I am going to strop this. I'm going to go back to my 1x30. I'm going to show you if you want to do a quick way of stropping. You could do it on the TS Prof with a leather piece that's attached to one of the metal holders. I'm going to grab the leather strap off of my other 1x30 here just to show you. No reason you can't do it with just one. Just grab your leather strap, throw it on. Main thing here, just remember you need to be going away from you, edge trailing. So just changing my direction. You can use your angle guide, which will give you a perfect match to the 15-degree angle we just did on that TS Prof. Let's do 3 strokes there. And you should see the burr coming off. If you look really close, you can usually see it. It's a little shiny, foily piece. And the difference is the knife typically becomes incredibly razor sharp. I'm just going to clean this, and then we'll do a quick cut test. All right, so let's start with a slice. Oh, beautiful. Ooh, ooh. That is so sharp. Wow. And let's do a push test. So you can see, no problem. Pushing, and I'll do a couple little pushes here to show you as I go up in different parts of the knife that it's push cutting in all those different spots. Look at all, you can see all those little pushes that I did there. And this is incredibly, incredibly sharp. Now, I'll just show you how I like to finish up a Shun like this, and I will talk about just a couple other things that you might want to do. So, if you have a Japanese knife that comes in and it's this dull, all right, clearly this person has not been getting their knives serviced and sharpened on a regular basis. You may want to remind them how incredibly sharp this is going to be, because that usually, you know, I would not be surprised if it's been 3-4 years or longer since this was sharpened, and even from the oxidation levels on it, I could tell it hasn't been mistreated, hasn't been in the dishwasher too much. The handle looks, you know, pretty good. It's just basically oxidation and use, but they clearly haven't had it sharpened regularly. So the first thing I like to do, I love to polish up the bolster areas on Shuns. They polish real nice. This is a 400 grit dental abrasive. So I'll get in there and hit that. And there's a lot of oxidation there and some scratches. So I'm actually going to drop down real quick to the 200 just for a second. The 200 does a really nice job too. And I'll show you how nice this looks here. So look how great that looks. I like to do the end piece. You can see it's all oxidized. I'll hit that. Only takes a few seconds. Then I'll go around the rim of that metal piece. Same thing. If I want it to really shine, I can go up and hit 400. I even have a 1 micron here at the end. If I want, you can touch that. It is nice to have multiple abrasives readily available. Now on Shuns, because of the Damascus cladding finish, I try not to hit them. I find it just, it takes away from the beauty of this knife. If I'm going to do it, I usually use Flitz polish on them and just polish it a tiny bit. What I do love to hit is the wood, and I'm going to show you how I do that. I usually use a regular buff, and this is a special abrasive that's made for plastic and wood. I also have one, another one here. This is also a plastic and wood one. I'll put a little of that on the wheel, and then I just hit the handle part with it. And you'll see how we go from this dull to that nice shine in just seconds. It doesn't take long. So we rebuff it. And now when this person gets their Shun back, it's nice and shiny. It's looking real good. It's looking way better than it did. You can even hit the metal, even with the plastic and wood polish. It's not going to hurt it. I usually just go back and make sure that I cleaned it off with a rag. But it doesn't hurt to get in there and give that a good little buffing too. But I've always found that Shun handles do buff up real nice with plastic and wood polish with just a regular cotton buff. Just remember, when buffing, always keep moving. You don't want to sit in one spot. Now, if you really want to do it justice, the other thing you could do is you can hit it with a tiny bit. I like flits. It really makes things look nice. This is like a full spa treatment here if I go this far. And I basically rub it in. Now, I will warn you, be careful. The only times I ever seem to get hurt and get cut by a knife in my shop is cleaning them. I never get cut sharpening. Not once. I've never, it's always been something stupid. You know, my worst cut ever was my thumb, and it was because my door to my shop blew open, and I walked over with a freshly sharpened global in one hand, and as I went to get the door, the wind blew, it hit the knife, and the knife went right across my thumb, and I cut the hell out of my thumb. I shouldn't have been walking across the shop with a knife for no reason. I should have just went and handled the situation with the door blowing open. But, you know, lessons learned the hard way. But, yeah, so I'll put a tiny bit of flitz polish on there, and I'll use the same buffer. I'll usually clean off what I just put on there. So this is just a little rake for cleaning your buffer. So I'll take that buff, clean it off for a bit, and then I like to get in there and just lightly touch that flitz polish. I like to go long ways as much as possible on a Shun. If not, when I'm done, I always like to finish in that direction. I have always found it makes the Damascus steel look better. So if I go both directions, and also be very careful when you're going edge trailing down. You can, if you're not careful, dull the knife. I try not to touch that edge at all. And if you do dull it a tiny bit, you can typically just re-strop it for one or two strop passes, and you'll be good to go. But look how much better this entire knife looks now. So now it's nice and shiny. We've removed all that oxidation. We didn't chew up or take away the Damascus cladding on this knife. It still looks nice. I am like 99% sure I didn't hit the edge. But if you have any doubts, you can always just check to make sure it's still cutting like a razor. And that's it. It's done. And that is my method for combining a 1x30 with something like a TS Prof. And if you haven't seen it, I am going to be giving away a TS Prof Pioneer. They were so cool at TS Prof. They gave me one to give to my followers. I'm running a contest. It's another video. Look for it. All you got to do is go in, watch that whole video, see what you have to make in a comment, make the comment, and you have a chance of winning a TS Prof Pioneer, which is a really nice entry-level sharpener for TS Prof.